Hey, what's up? Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm covering how surviving trauma has impacted the way I live my life today. So let's get into it. Hi, my name is Jackie if you're new here. I am in recovery for drug addiction and alcoholism. I've been clean and sober for over 6 years, and I battled a 14-year-long addiction. So in the beginning of my addiction, it was purely for fun. If you told me way back then when I first started using, if you told me my addiction was going to take me from the party scene to crime scenes, I wouldn't have believed you. But that's where my addiction and my sickness took me. Because I chose to become so deeply immersed in that lifestyle, I experienced a lot of trauma. A lot of the trauma I experienced was because of the really poor choices, impulsive, chaotic, desperate choices I was making to maintain my habit. I was doing some really horrible things to come up with the money to buy the drugs that I needed, or I so felt I needed, to not become sick. And doing all of these things on a daily basis, I was living through a lot of trauma in a very condensed period of time. I think the last 7 years of my using, I probably experienced more trauma than my whole life and maybe rest of my life combined. But there's a silver lining to come out of that. Because I was experiencing trauma on a weekly and often daily basis in recovery, in sobriety, and parenthood now, I can see the value in life so much more. Back then, I saw life as something that was, in my teens, I felt invincible, like that life was going to go on and on and on, and I could, basically do anything at any given moment, and there was going to be little to no consequences for those actions. Then as I grew older and my addiction progressed, it became more obvious that there were very severe actions for some of these choices, but I was so desperate and angry and hostile and filled with hate at times that I didn't care about the consequences. I accepted I was going to die an early death. I accepted that I had a high-risk lifestyle, and that was something that I was willing to die young if it meant that I could die doing what I loved, which at the time all I loved to do was get high and drink and basically and do whatever it took to maintain that. So now in my recovery and as a parent to a young child, I can really see the beauty in life, the beautiful side of life. And because of my past, I also know firsthand how fleeting life is and how quickly your life can end or your life can be taken away from you. And because of that, I'm a lot more action oriented. So examples would be, I used to lay around and put myself full of toxins and not do anything productive with my life. I used to procrastinate things that were important and put it off and kind of run from my problems, versus nowadays I do very little procrastination. I have little things I do to myself to get myself doing the things that I don't want to do, because I don't know how long I'm here, so I want to make the most of the time I have left. I have my priorities in better order now, because things that I used to not do at all when I was really deep in my addiction, like visiting family, going to holidays, taking time for family vacations, all these things are important to me today, and I make time to show up to those functions because family is important to me today. Because I don't take people and experiences for granted like I did in the past, because I don't know if the encounter we had yesterday is the last time I'm going to see you. So I want to make the most of the time we have and really be present and with you and enjoying the time that we have together, because I don't know how much longer I have here, and I don't know how much longer you have here. So another way trauma has impacted the way I live today is I'm a lot less impulsive. So during my addiction, I didn't really think twice about high risk activities. I didn't think twice about hitting or stabbing somebody. I didn't think twice about getting into a high speed chase. I didn't think twice about jumping out of a 2-story window or things along those lines. But now in my recovery, I think before I do something that's high risk. And high risk today is drastically different than high risk in my using days, because my lifestyle has changed drastically. You could just say I'm a lot more tame these days. So a high risk activity these days might just be like making a big purchase or an investment for my business. I just think more about when I'm going to do something, because if it could affect somebody else or my family or me in a negative way, I try to think through those decisions more, so I'm far less impulsive. Another way trauma has Another way it's affected the way I live is when I'm meeting somebody for the first time or going into a situation that I've not experienced before. I'm a lot more standoffish and I'm a lot more observant. And that's because in my past, experience has taught me that a lot of times things are not what they seem. And there are times when people have very bad intentions and they set things up to look really nice, really enticing, and just the perfect scenario, which is actually just a finely laid trap. So just to give you a little context would be, example, in the criminal world, a lot of people have things they specialize in. So you could come across a jack of all trades, somebody that kind of mixes and matches and dabbles in this and dabbles in that. And that's sort of how I would describe me personally. But a lot of people are really good at one specific thing. So somebody might specialize in stolen cars. Somebody might specialize in identity theft. Somebody might specialize in kidnapping even. Somebody might specialize in robbery, home invasions. So because that's their specialty, they're really good at getting everything set up just the way they want it. So basically when they see somebody come in new in an area, like for instance, I was new in that town that I moved to, and basically you're like to them, a newcomer in town is like a new opportunity to them, for them to entice and try to trick into whatever they're scheming and scamming up for the day. So I've been in situations where I've become trusting of people and then they later stole my car. I've been in situations where I became friends with people and then they later robbed my apartment. I've been in situations where I've let my guard down with people and then they stole my identity. So I've sort of experienced a lot of these firsthand, but then I've also been on the other end of the scenario too. So it's not like I was really a victim. Like that's just kind of the crowds I was running in. So it sort of came with it. It kind of went both ways, I guess you could say. But because I had so many of those experiences, and because I did so many of those things also, I'm pretty good at like feeling out when somebody has bad intentions, but they're putting on a facade or a front to put you at ease. I'm pretty good about reading people these days, and I'm a lot more cautious with who I let my guard down with and who I trust. I no longer take my health for granted. So before I was basically just pumping myself full of poison every day and just seeing what happened, how it played out. And nowadays I'm basically trying to take the best care of myself as I can and constantly learn how I can better take care of myself, because if I'm not taking care of myself, I'm not going to be able to be a good wife, a good mother, because if I have neglected my own health, how healthy can I be to somebody else? And I've learned that in my recovery, and it's why I'm constantly doing things that I don't necessarily want to do, but I know that are good for me overall, like getting out, getting fresh air, working out. You know, I talk about working out a lot. I I kind of have a love-hate relationship with working out. Like, a lot of times I don't want to do it, but once I do it, I feel so much better. And eating healthy is kind of the same thing. Like, I go through these ups and downs. I try to eat healthy, but then I enjoy eating unhealthy because it tastes good. So I try to find the balance, and I put a lot more thought into what I eat, how much I eat unhealthy versus how much I eat healthy, how much I don't work out versus how much I do work out. And I put a lot more effort and planning and thought into my health, and I no longer take my health for granted. I feel very, very, very fortunate to be in as good of health that I'm currently in, given my past choices, my past decisions, my past history. And I know that as time goes on, I'm a lot less likely to age gracefully because of all those poor decisions I made. So I figure the least I can do is try to make the best decisions I can today going forward to help in whatever way I can, so that I can be here as long as I'm meant to be here for my family. So the last one I'll go over is I'm a lot more cautious. And I used to, even in my early recovery, like, a coworker used to come pick me up for work, and we had a door-to-door sales job, and it was kind of lame, and we didn't really look forward to doing it, but we loved the adrenaline rush of, like, speeding through the highway on our way to work. And I think he would go like 145, 150, 160. His car went really fast, and we like drove almost the whole way to work going that fast on the highway, which is really, really dangerous. And we had a lot of close calls just on our way to work. But that's like that's just like the craziness of wanting those adrenaline rushes, and even in recovery still trying to find them. I feel like I find those adrenaline rushes now in a more balanced, healthy way. But in my early recovery and in my addiction, I was not a cautious person whatsoever. So driving really fast, high speed chases, like I said before. So yeah, I'm a lot more cautious, especially when it comes to driving. I mean, I went from the getaway driver to the grandma driver, as my husband calls me. It's just, I don't intentionally go under the speed limit. But now, being a parent, I heard the saying somewhere, like, now I have precious cargo in my car, whereas before it was just me. And now I want to drive safely because I want to make sure we arrive safely. And so you're not going to catch me going like below the speed limit intentionally, at least. But I guess these days it's a lot more likely that you'll catch me going like 2 below the speed limit as opposed to triple, quadruple, basically disregarding the speed limit altogether. All right, I think I'll wrap it up there for today. So hope you enjoyed these different ways that trauma has affected the way I live my life now versus how I lived my life in the past. And I hope you all are hanging in there. I hope you're doing well. And until next time, stay strong, stay grateful, and stay positive.